Today on Bernadette TV, confessions of a recovering Lone Ranger. Hello and welcome to Bernadette TV, online TV to help you be the best you can be in your business and your life. And today I am fessing up because I stand before you as a recovering Lone Ranger. You know, I think anyone who starts their own business has an element of Lone Ranger in them, because that determination, that inner belief, that even that willingness to go it alone is just what it takes to get a business off the ground. But the trouble is, as you're growing your business, that Lone Ranger attitude that got you started in the first place, not only does it not support you in moving to new levels in your business, it can actually even get in the way. So if you're curious about whether or not you're a Lone Ranger, here are a few questions for you to help you find out. Do you ask others for help? Are you open to accepting help from others? Do you think if you don't do it yourself that it won't be done right or at all? Are you able to listen to the concerns of others? Are you a member of a team or of a community of support or common interest? If you can't say yes to all of these questions, then there's a chance that there's a little Lone Ranger still lingering in you. So here are some tips and advice on how you can recover from your Lone Ranger-itis. Number one, change your mantra. Lone Rangers say, if it's gonna be, it's up to me. And you know, in the early stages of business, that's great. That can actually be that go it alone attitude that's just what you need to get things off the ground. But in the later stages of business, not only does that not serve you, it can actually be a problem in itself, preventing you from delegating, from getting the right support, and from handing over the things that aren't your zone of genius. So I want you to change your mantra. Instead of saying, if it's gonna be, it's up to me, you have a new mantra. If you've got a dream, then you need a team. Next, let's look at some Lone Ranger lies. Lone Ranger lie number one, I should be able to do this. You know, this thought can really keep you stuck. And hands up, because I told you this is confessions of a recovering Lone Ranger. This is one of the things that really stopped me moving forward in business for several years. You see, with my background in selling and marketing, I was really reluctant to ask for help in this area. And so I used to find myself over and over saying, well, I should be able to do this. It wasn't until I got out of my own way and let go of that arrogance and I hired a mentor that things really took off. And you know, the first year that I worked with a mentor, I tripled my revenues. So instead of saying to yourself, I should be able to do this, ask yourself instead, who else could help me with this? Lone Ranger lie number two, I can do it myself. Well, yes, you might be able to do it yourself, but you know, just because you can doesn't mean you should. You really need to ask yourself, whenever you're doing any task, particularly a business task, is this the highest and best use of your time? And if it's not something that's in your zone of genius, you really want to hand it over. Lie number three, no one else can do this as well as me. Well, you know, in some instances, you may be right. In fact, if you're operating out of your zone of genius, and by that I mean the area where you're so naturally gifted that you do things almost like without effort and you do it so well, then you could be right. No one else can do it as well as you. But my guess is there's lots of things that are taking up your time and energy and attention that you're not necessarily the best person to do it. Let me let you in on a little secret of how I determine whether I'm supposed to do something. I always say, if God wants me to do this, he'll either make me really good at it or he'll make sure that I love doing it. So let's take ironing, for example. I neither love ironing and nor am I good at doing it. So that's how I know that God doesn't want me to iron. How can you tell if you're in your genius zone? Well, it's something that you do so well that you're energized by it. You love doing it. You can't believe you get paid to do it. And it's an area that comes really easy for you. In fact, you might be surprised that other people can't do this. That's how you know you're in your genius zone. Okay, so let's translate this into action. First thing I want you to do, think back over the last couple of days and start to think about when were you operating in your genius zone and when were you doing things that possibly you're competent at but you're not the best person to do. I want you to start making a list, because even if you don't have anyone around you that you can delegate this to right now, you want to make that list so that when help shows up, and it will, that you have a list ready to go. You know exactly what you're going to hand over. Next, I want to give you an affirmation that really helped me when I was moving into starting to get more support and help in my business. And this is one that I got from Abraham Hicks. And it's this phrase: at your soonest convenience, please show me who I am to turn this over to. You know that sentence, when the student is ready, the teacher appears? Well, I actually have a different take on that. I think that when the receiver is ready, the support appears. So instead of trying to figure out who you're going to delegate this to, your job is to start to become more receptive to receiving support. And you'll know when you're getting more receptive, because trust me, the support's going to show up. My final message to you is that learning to be supported is a skill that anyone can learn. Trust me. I have all my Lone Ranger credentials, big and bold, and yet I have learned to do this. I'm still learning it, and I want to share with you something that really helped me. So the thing to do is to start to notice all of the places in your life where you are already supported. And even if you feel unsupported right now, trust me, you're supported in so many invisible ways. For example, the next time you go on a flight, you just stop and take a moment to think about how many people had to show up on work on time for you to be able to fly safely. It'll just blow your mind. But I started looking out for where I was being supported in little everyday ways. So for example, when I was lying in my bed at night, I would notice that I was being supported by the mattress, and how the mattress was being supported by the bed, and how the bed was being supported by the floor, that were being supported by the walls of my house, that were being supported by the foundations, and on and on and on and on. So as you start to notice where you're being supported, you know the old saying, what you focus on expands. You'll start to not only notice more and more how you're being supported, but you'll allow yourself to receive more support. So I would love to hear your thoughts on this episode. What about you? Are you a recovering Lone Ranger too? Or maybe you still are, very much entrenched in being a Lone Ranger, and you're finding it difficult to ask for help. Whatever your thoughts, I'd love to hear them. Leave a comment below this video, or come on over to my blog, BernadetteDoyle.com, and we can continue the conversation there. And while you're there, if you would like to receive more email updates and more confession-like tales like this, I've got so much to share with you, make sure to sign up for my email list. So that's it from me, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Bernadette TV. Now, how can you tell if you're in your Genius Joan? Genius Joan. Genius Joan. She sounds like a Genius Joan, new superhero. Genius Joan. I'd like to meet Genius Joan. How can you tell if you're in your Zenius Joan? How can you tell if you're in your Zaniest Joan? Zany Joan. Who's Joan? Lone Ranger. Even the Lone Ranger had Tonto.